The Detroit Lions have released Terrion Arnold. Thank you to Prize Picks for sponsoring today's video. We're going to be breaking down the release of Terrion Arnold after the pre-trial bond hearing that took place today, what it means for the Lions, Terrion Arnold, and everything. Let's get this thing started right now. All right, folks. So, as you know in the intro right there, the Lions have released Terrion Arnold, and he is no longer a Detroit Lion. This is what I fully expected to happen when the Chargers was given to him. I didn't expect it would be something that the Lions would want to hold on to too much, just because the 8 charges, and this is not knowing everything, especially what we did with the pre-trial today. They don't like the PR stuff. I didn't think they would like that. I didn't think that would be something they'd want in their culture. But you still had to go ahead and watch for what took place today. Now, in today's hearing, I watched it from beginning to end. All I thought is the prosecuting attorney did a really bad job. I thought the defense did a really good job. And he was given bond for $1 million. And we didn't know what was going to happen after that, right? What would the Lions do? What would the NFL do? All I know is from a legal standpoint, he was able to come back to the NFL, even to the point where they didn't want him to have an ankle bracelet. Now, fast forward to just a couple hours later, and the Detroit Lions have released him. He is no longer going to be on the Detroit Lions team, as like I thought, he would never wear the Honolulu blue again. I honestly thought that maybe they would wait a little bit after the trial, at least to see what the NFL thought. But I did put in the caveat in there, and I think that this is something that's very important to Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, is you don't know exactly the conversations that took place with Terrion Arnold and them. They're big into telling the truth, keeping it up front, keep it at 100. And clearly, to me, when I look at what I see, is he's definitely probably lied to them. Most definitely, he was a part of it, not necessarily from a legal standpoint, everything right there, you're innocent until proven guilty, but it's clear there was some sort of involvement there, and that's just something that the Detroit Lions were not going to do. So give me a one-word reaction to Terrion Arnold being released. One word in the comments right now. Now, for me, I didn't know what the Lions would do. It could go either way. Do I think it's a good thing or a bad thing that they released him? We don't know the conversations that they had. All I know from my perspective, as if I felt like somebody did something really bad and then they lied to me about it, if they were my employee, I'd want to fire them as well, because I do believe that speaking the truth and being honest, especially something like this, is a big deal. And they really value that here in Detroit. So we don't know exactly what happened back there. I'm going to assume he said, no, I was not involved, because that's what he's been saying, right? Maybe the Lions believed it. You look at Dan Campbell's press conference from about 2 weeks ago, and he thought there would be nothing coming of it. We don't know exactly what was said. We don't know what was done behind the scenes. From a legal standpoint, don't know exactly what it means for the Lions. Cap ramifications for this year. I know they're going to take a cap hit. I know they're not going to get the money back. Generally speaking, that maybe they would have done if the NFL suspended him or put it on a list, and then they're able to recoup some of that money, but they didn't want to do all that. They just sat up and released him. And I think, too, the most important thing is they wanted to set a culture as well as not have distractions in training camp. That's the released. And now you're not going to have that in Detroit. You're not going to have the conversations of Terrion Arnold anymore. You're not going to have that in training camp. You're not going to have people consistently asking the players that. You're not going to have any of that take place. It's going to be really focused on the Lions. Now, I'm sure they'll get asked a little bit, maybe in the beginning, but it will completely fall out after a while, right? Not everyone's going to sit there and want to talk about it weeks into training camp or week 1. And also, from a Lions franchise standpoint, they got to be able to have the best 90 men on roster, and if they feel like he's not going to be there, it's important to get a guy to come in immediately to kind of take over that roster spot and to start to learn this defense and start to understand this defense. Lock in with the rest of the DBs, because we can't have what happened last year happen to the Lions. And it's both defense and from a Frank Ragnow standpoint of where you lose a player that you expect to be there and not necessarily replace him at all. And I think that the Lions would like to not make that same mistake again. Today's show is sponsored by Prize Picks. Love me some Prize Picks. As you know, the World Cup is taking place right now. Same with MLB. Thankfully, the NFL is right around the corner with the regular season and in the preseason, and it's time to cash in with Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 sports pick app and is the best place to win cash while watching sports. The app is really easy to use. Just pick more or less on a few player stats and lock in your lineup. For the Lions and Cowboys this year, I have Jahmyr Gibbs getting more than 1,224.5 rushing yards, Ada Hutchinson getting more than 12.25 sacks, and Caleb Downs getting more than 1.5 interceptions. With the new social feeds feature, you can share Prize Picks with your friends and copy the lineup with a single click. That includes myself, MicroMike85, and the rest of the folks at Chat Sports. You can follow some Prize Picks, Taylor Picks, or Fade, and get picks that before they even get posted on the show. New user offer. Download the Prize Picks app today with the link in the comments and in the description. Use code HMA to get $50 in your lineup after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code HMA to get $50 in your lineup after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. And I'm on the side of I want this defense to be good to go. I don't want any sort of issues at all. I'm tired of the secondary issues. I'm tired of stuff that we've seen in the past. And this is, I think, is going to negate some of that because it's going to be less of a distraction. Now they can go into free agency, or if they wanted to acquire a cornerback in a trade, right, they can do that now. They can tell that free agent or that player, you know, this is your role. It's Terrion Arnold's not coming back. We released him. We know exactly what you're going to be doing here. So give me your player you want the Lions to pick up in free agency to replace Terrion Arnold. Name a player in the comments right now. So from a franchise standpoint in 2026, if they believe that he did it, if they believe that he lied, or if they feel like it's going to be a significant distraction, pull the plug immediately. Yes, we're going to take a hit. Yes, it may be down the road he is not guilty, but we're focusing on this team solely, not anything else, not outside noise. We're not going to be focusing on anything else but Lions football, practice, and getting together. And it also sends a message to the rest of the locker room that our culture here is not just on the field, but it's also off the field. You want to hang out with the dumb crowd, even a first-round pick can get released. Even in a guy who we invested in, we traded up again, we would release him. Even considering that it's not been proven innocent or guilty as of yet by the court of law. And so that's a big message sent. What do I think? Do I think this is good, bad? You know, we don't. I think it's a smart decision for the franchise. I think it's the best decision to make for the franchise. Maybe it hurts them talent-wise, but you don't got a distraction anymore. We're not going to be talking about it all the time. It's not going to be Terrion Arnold watch every day, and I think that's important. And it's not like Terrion Arnold is Aiden Hutchinson. He's St. Brown or Jamison Williams or Jahmyr Gibbs, one of these guys that are big-time staples. He is literally we wanted him to be a #1, but he's never excelled to that level. He's debate on him being a #2, who's been injured and who talks a lot and is in controversy. So do you want to deal with that issues for a player that you're not generally relying on? Like, this ain't Frank Ragnow. We lost Frank Ragnow. That was a big blow, right? That we're talking about the best center in football. Terrion Arnold is a #2 on this team in a secondary that's been getting lit for a while. So it's not the biggest drop-off at all. And they could pick up a guy in free agency if they want to go in a trade route with Denzel Ward. You can get a player in here that can fill that spot. And then you're not having the migraine. You're not having the headache. Yes, it's a financial, it's going to financially burn us for this year a little bit. And maybe for next year from camp ramifications, whatever. But that money's worth it without having a migraine. That's their process right there. I do think Terrion Arnold will have an opportunity if he is cleared or if he doesn't get time in prison when it's all said and done, which I just don't. I'm starting to think that, they'll come to a plea deal, and he may not even serve any time. He'll have an opportunity to play for another team. Now, it's probably not going to happen this year. That's for sure. It wouldn't happen this year because you got to deal with the court process. I don't see a team wanting to come near him at this moment right now. It's a nuclear situation. Unless somehow the resolution of this process happened, I don't see a team until it's completely resolved touching him. Matter of fact, he may get suspended or put on the commissioner's list this year. It may happen relatively soon. He may not even as a free agent. So, but eventually he should have an opportunity to play if he is able to ever come and play again, right? I think that everybody deserves second chances, and he made a really dumb decision, and he's paying the consequences for it. He just got released by the Detroit Lions in year 3. Look at the 2024 draft. That was terrible draft. Terrible draft. Terrion Arnold released by the Lions. If Ennis Rakestraw gets hurt this year, or he doesn't do anything, this would be his last year in Detroit. You look at Sione Vaki, special teams guy, always injured. Giovanni Manu, it doesn't done anything. Christian Mahogany, he's our left guard at the moment, but looks like he probably gets replaced by Ben Barch or somebody else is possible. That draft was horrible. But sometimes you got to let something go early and then move on, right? If you make a wrong decision, you make a wrong addition to your roster, instead of holding on hope, instead of waiting, just cut bait. Sometimes that is the answer. So give me your thoughts about Terrion Arnold no longer being a Detroit Lion. Adios.